are players who have fought really again to get to this spot.
They're both really strong players. I don't think this game's anywhere near over.
We are ready to get this match underway.
Welcome to the championship round of the Iron Gauntlet War Machine Weekend 2014 tournament.
That's right. It's been a long and arduous journey for our two finalists, Martin Hornacek, who we just saw win the previous Gauntlet round against his opponent, using his Scorn.
Oh.
Not Mike Purrier. That's who he's playing now.
Oh, I got ahead of myself.
Yeah, he did. And so he'll be playing against
Mike Purrier.
There we go.
And his Protectorate lists.
So once again, we have a pretty interesting matchup here in terms of the army list construction. Xerxes, Fist of Halak will be Tyrant Xerxes, in the Fist of Halak theme force at Tier 2 actually composes Martin Hornacek's list for the day. This is based heavily off of one of his 50-point lists from the earlier Gauntlet rounds. The list pretty much pulls extra units of cataphracts into it from the other two lists, which had Void Seer Motorcar, the one we saw from the last round as well, which was built heavily on to make that game against Adam. Xerxes is featuring Tiberian in his battle group. As Martin himself just told Mike over the table, Tiberian keeps his caster from dying. Mullet Karn, who's a very fast model according to Martin, is also in the battle group. Titan Gladiator is in the battle group, as well as a max unit of Citrati with Tyrant Vorkesh as the unit attachment, another max unit of Citrati, 3 minimum units of Incendiari. So this Scorn army does not joke around with the fire throwing. An Arcurai minimum unit rounds out the Cataphract complement. A Tyrant Commander and Standard Bearer is there, as well as 2 min units of Beast Handlers. And I know we were talking about our surprise that we hadn't seen more of the 2 min units for both Beast Handlers and for Min Choir and for Choir and things like that, because that allows you more flexibility. It makes you more protected against your opponent sniping out your support solos. So
easier to cover the board. Don't have to worry so much about unit formation.
And so we see 2 min units of Beast Handler happening here. So we've got a very hard-hitting, a very durable army, one that's well-suited, I think, to go up against the Harbinger and what Mike is bringing to the table.
Well, and Mike's list is similarly based on one of his 3 lists from earlier. We saw him play his Krios 3 list with a lot of cavalry. He also had a Fiora Protector of the Flame list, Fiora 2. And his Harbinger list had, as we discussed, a lot fewer units than many Harbinger lists do. And it was very jack-heavy for a Harbinger list. But it turned out to be a strong list, one that he played and won with. And now this particular Gauntlet round list is based on that. He's got the Harbinger, who you can see there in front of you. And in her battle group, she has 2 Redeemers and a Reckoner. Tristan Durant has his own battle group that consists of a Redeemer and Adjudicator.
Right.
So much like we just saw Icos running a Kraken, Tristan will be taking over the focus distribution duties for Adjudicator and a Reckoner. He does also have a maximum unit of Exemplar Errants with their unit attachment. That's really his only large-size combat unit, but they are a great one to use and work well with Harbinger's Martyrdom and Crusader's Call. So
extremely utilitarian, too, between ranged attacks and good melee damage.
Yep, and Pathfinder, can't go wrong. We also got Ayana and Holt, a minimum unit of Zealots with the Monolith Bearer, a Reclaimer to turn the casualties he does suffer into even more focus.
Right.
Nisia, Gorman DeWolf, a Vassal of Menoth, and 2 minimum choirs.
Right.
So again, going that 2 minimum direction that I personally like a lot. And we'll see how well it works for him today.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be an interesting matchup. I mean, both players kind of seeking to utilize their strengths. Mike often plays the Harbinger in final rounds. It's one of his preferred casters. His army list doesn't always look the same, but he has a lot of success with it.
Right.
Previous iterations I've seen have had Vessel of Judgment, have had more troops to maximize Martyrdom. But Martin's lists definitely seem to have a bent towards Attrition. His Mordekar list we saw is an extremely grindy list. He was able to bring back models and win that Attrition even against a Krix army that was built for somewhat of the same thing. The Xerxes list, not bringing models back, but making models extremely difficult to remove, as well as packing one heck of a punch. Between Fury, the Xerxes feat, the abilities of Defender's Ward, plus the feat itself adding to the arm, and those just chunky multi-wound shield-walled models, it's going to be a tough nut to crack, even for an army that features so many jacks like Mike's Force.
Well, and both of these lists are a bit more ranged-oriented than you typically see with either of these casters. The Harbinger frequently will run with some Paladins, some other really powerful melee solos, and there aren't any here. Instead, there's lots of jacks, lots of ranged elements, Redeemers for days, firing rockets everywhere. And similarly, in Martin's list, you've got 3 units of Incendiary shooting their fire all over the place.
But as we pointed out in the last game, and we saw used to good effect, the the Incendiary are not slouches in melee.
Right.
When you stack on Fury to them especially, or the feat, they can do a lot of work for models that are supposed to be just shooting their fire cannons. So a lot of utility there as well, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Because the fire damage on this side, on both sides, the range capabilities are kind of neutered based on the high armor of each one. Fire
a lot
damage,
of high armor.
A lot of high armor in terms of the jacks, a lot of damage points. So the Redeemer rocket's probably not going to be too much of a factor unless they're trying to snipe out beast handlers because of the Cataphract high armor. And on the same token, the Incendiary's fire damage, not going to be a huge factor in terms of getting through those war jacks. More helpful against the troops that Mike has in his army, though.
Well, with the Hymn of Battle and aiming, the Redeemers do hit a lot of the models in Martin's list on an average roll. So we might see them, even though their blast damage isn't as effective, we might still see them being used to really strong effect with direct hits and then boosted damage rolls.
Yeah. So it's going to be an interesting match and a fun one to watch. And we're looking forward to seeing our players get to deploying and set up. And our scenario for this event is actually... I'm not sure where did the scenario... There we go. It's fire support. So fire support being the last event for this one. You can see that there are 2 flags set up in the center as well as 2 objectives. And you can earn CPs by controlling the flag for 1 or dominating a flag for 2. If you destroy an enemy objective or remove it from play, you're going to get 1 CP as well, once per objective. So it is possible to score up to 4 in 1 turn if everything goes your way.
Yeah.
Controlling a flag, dominating a flag, and destroying an objective. You need 5 to win the scenario, though. And again, this is another one that really favors the center of the table. So just like the last one that we saw, unlike Incursion, you're kind of pushing your forces towards the middle. Flanking maneuvers are useful. It'll be interesting to see if either force decides to use that, since we don't have a fast-striking cav force like we saw with Mike in his game.
Well, and as if you needed any more incentive to head to the center, this is a scenario that uses Killbox. You can see the Killbox yes at the top of the screen there on the left. So players will be forced to have their casters in the action. And, of course, dominating a flag is another good reason to do so.
So with fire support set up, our players are getting ready to start their clock and begin their deployment. You can see once again we've got a decent amount of models, even though these forces are fairly compact in terms of point cost and size. Pre-deployment with the Judicator happening first. Mike sporting a fantastic hat. Easy to spot across the hall.
Or from space.
Or from space. Or from space. Mike's certainly no stranger to this finals table, having been here once before and walking away with the win. And one of my favorite parts about this is that Martin is actually from Slovakia. So he's traveled a long way to be here, and he's fought his way to this final table right now and played excellently all the way along the game.
Well, Iron Gauntlet has a scoring system and has participation from around the world. We build the annual finals for the Iron Gauntlet year based on the different regions. So players will score points as they go to these various Iron Gauntlet events all around the world. So if Martin pulls a win today, that'll give him a real edge, because then it will be points that he gained outside of his own region even, enabling him to get more points within his own region still as he plays in continuing events throughout the year.
But it's always fun to see events like War Machine Weekend or TempleCon or Lock and Load or Gen Con, and the international pull that they have, like seeing people from around the world come together to play the games, to have fun, to be great sports, and just kind of see the different takes on the game from different worldwide metas. I know that a lot of the stories you hear when you have international players show up or U.S. players going to play in international events, there's a lot of differences in terms of what people view as powerful and important and how they take on the game. And we kind of see that here with Martin's scorn lists. Several of them, aren't necessarily ones that I think you would immediately recognize as being traditional in the U.S. meta,
right?
But are very effective, as we've seen, in the proper hands.
Yeah, a lot of times it just takes one person to step out of their comfort zone and begin exploring a new caster, a new theme force, a new play style, and it with the globalization of our community, both online and with events like Iron Gauntlet that go worldwide, it doesn't take long for other people to start picking up on it and trying things out that are based off of those ideas, but then maybe expand upon them.
And we've talked about this a lot, too, over the weekend, but the idea of adapting, the strongest players being the ones who can critically look at models in the meta and figure out how to break it by coming up with new and crazy ideas. Jason Flanzer being one of the ones who did that last year at War Machine Weekend with his response to the newest version of the Butcher Unleashed, taking Dahlia and Scarith to shut down effectively what the Butcher really wants to do through Haunting Melody. So it's those kinds of lists, or Will Pagani last year who took Assault Commandos with Vlad the Dark Prince using their multiple attacks to great effect because of Sign's importance, and coming up with ways that people aren't quite ready to deal with and throwing it even a small throw to the opponent's kind of stride. I expected this to do this. I built my list against this, and now I haven't seen this thing on the table that much. What exactly does it do? That newness, that freshness of experience can really lead to a critical edge.
Yeah, those Assault Commandos in particular, if you're facing across the table against 3 units of Cataphract Incendiary.
It's exactly what you want to see.
Would be pretty helpful. The same's true when new models come out. I've been talking with a few people this weekend about models in the new Hordes book, Exigence, and sometimes people's initial reactions, while interesting, don't always stand the test of time.
Right.
We talked about how some models that people thought were going to be really popular and strong in tournament play haven't really risen to the top yet, while others that people were like, I don't know about that guy, are all over the place here this weekend in tournaments and are proving to be very competitive.
Yeah, and it's one of the things that I think keeps the game as fresh and the community as vibrant, in addition to just the great sportsmanship that you see all over the place with our players. So we see Martin finishing up his normal deployment. He has no AD in this list, being a very cataphract, slow-moving brick of an army. So we now have Mike asking for some clarifications on certain models and now doing his advanced deploy with his errands. Placing those models out and getting ready to begin the game here. Important to note, because of Fist of Halak, Martin's Cataphract units are all a point cheaper, which is huge once you start talking about how many units he has. A total of 2 Cetrati, 3 Incendiary, and an Arcueri. So he's playing at a decent points advantage.
Yeah, 6 points is nothing to laugh at.
And in addition, he's also got an FAU on all Cataphract units, so that's what allowed him to take the 3 units of Incendiary in the first place.
And why stop at 3?
It's maybe all you have painted up, you know. I think overall the balance is there, and it's going to be interesting to watch how he utilizes this very resilient army against a not quite traditional protectorate force.
We see Nissia well outside the martyrdom area for the Harbinger. She's apparently going to lone wolf it.
See a big handshake from our 2 players as the final match gets underway. So we have 1 on all the jacks from Harvey, the Harbinger, and then Tristan also laying out a focus on his jacks as well, leaving enough for Fortify. Fun.
Harbinger activates right out of the gate, advances, or no, excuse me, runs around the wall and up behind those trees. Should put her in good position for most of the game, really. She's definitely outside of the kill box already, which is good not to have to worry about that. A Redeemer runs forward.
One of the other interesting notes about Mike's list is that he initially had the Judicator with Harbinger and made a last-second change before the time for Army list construction ran out, flipping the Judicator back to Tristan. And he was like, he realized at the last second, he was like, why wouldn't I want the Judicator with Fortify? That's exactly what I want. So, you know, the on-the-fly list construction definitely causing our players to really think about their choices and go back and forth in terms of what the best optimization is.
The Exemplar Errant there running forward. Also getting into good position for future turns.
See the
Another Redeemer runs.
Right through that archway there.
Another Redeemer runs. I won't have to say that anymore this turn.
True. Setting up for delivering some serious rockets on guys.
The Reckoner also runs forward.
See,
the Reckoner will prove a great jack to have in this particular matchup and many others.
It's definitely a solid jack and a go-to choice for a lot of Protectorate players given its ranged ability and its excellent melee capacity.
Is that, what is that? Is that the Reclaimer solo?
Yeah, I believe that is the Reclaimer solo.
I believe it's the Reclaimer solo.
We have the Judicator running forward. See Tristan and the Hierophant still back there. Sorry, not the Hierophant. Tristan and the Reclaimer, it looks like. The Zealots running forward. Not using their once per game ability yet.
No. Having a little bit of trouble with the terrain here, but we'll get it sorted out.
Determining where the edge of the table is exactly. It is back behind that turret that you can see over there.
I think that's Iona and Holt, who just ran forward.
So we have Tristan advancing forward. Going to cast Fortify here. Not casting Fortify. Interesting. We have the Vassal of Menoth running forward. Choir running. The Choir booking forward to stay with that group of 3 Warjacks, the 2 Redeemers and the Reckoner.
And Mike passes the turn over to Martin.
So Martin explaining that most of his army runs 10, so he'll just be using the 10-inch spray template. So we see that first unit of Cataphracts running forward, heedless of the Zealots. It's an Incendiari unit. So zipping forward there. So we have the next unit of Cataphracts.
Nope, Moloch Karn.
Moloch Karn running. Yep. Gaining Fury to do so, hugging that wall for some cover. See a measure of control from Xerxes. Determining how far to go up. Martin considering his options here as he looks at what units to activate next. Carefully concerning here. So Xerxes activating next. So Xerxes giving press forward to, and then he casts Moloch Karn's Animus. So give him an extra boost of movement here without costing him any spell casting abilities. So we have Xerxes advancing through models because of his ability.
Yep, thanks to martial discipline, he's able to move right through them.
So we see the press forward Cataphract Cetrati advancing forward. And no Defender's Ward cast from Xerxes, so surprised that neither a Fortify was cast from Mike or Defender's Ward from Xerxes. So perhaps feels like he needs those transfers. And we see a run here. Oh, a trample. So we see a trample now with the Gladiator. I will not be calling it a bronze back this game as I did all last game. It's a Gladiator.
Well, tramples a way for him to get the same movement, but also uses Animus.
Yep. Still be able to rush Tiberian to make sure that that big hunk of elephant flesh can keep up. So Tiberian's now rushed, giving him +2 inches of movement in Pathfinder. So we see a run from Tiberian. So a little bit of movement there in terms of models getting moved and kind of taking models with them. You see with Tiberian. Bold run straight forward for Tiberian. Fearing nothing from those Exemplar Errants and the Reckoner.
It is a very sturdy war beast, to be sure. I don't think he would intentionally run into melee range of the Reckoner, but he can weather quite a few ranged attacks thanks to his armor 21 from most weapons.
Certainly doesn't have too much to fear from the Errants. The Redeemer rockets and potentially the Reckoners, if they're all boosted, could do some damage, but not enough to eliminate him. So we see a shield. See the Tyrant Commander activating, giving Pathfinder to the other Cetrati. That wasn't pressed forward by
good old martial discipline.
We see the Cetrati run, using Pathfinder to clear that forest with no problem. Keeping pace with Mullet Karn there, or not Mullet Karn, excuse me, Tiberian.
Bit reminiscent of last game. Run on turn 1, and from then on out, shield wall it up.
So checking his final positioning there. So the Incendiary go next, and they run as well. 8 and 1 inch into the wood for that one. Another one following up behind. Next one following up behind as well. The last one stacking up base to base right behind that, using Martial Discipline to excellent effect here. It's one of those weaknesses we talked about in terms of some heavy infantry armies is you have to be careful with your placement. You don't want to wind up blocking lanes for your own troops. You can get jammed up just as easily as you can jam up your opponent. Martial Discipline kind of solves all those issues, though. So it makes this army far more maneuverable and flexible than it might look at the outset.
All of these medium bases are also being used to good effect, well, and some of the large bases, to kind of construct walls so that the line of sight for the Protectorate models is limited to the targets that Martin is willing to give Mike at this point.
So we see a check to see if that model can fit in. So the last unit of Incendiaries just runs forward. Mike confirming that Martial Discipline allows friendly models to shoot through other models because they can draw line of sight through them. And that is entirely true. So charging and ranged attacks can happen without worrying about line of sight being blocked by friendly models. Well within.
The first unit of Paingiver Beast Handlers there ran forward, and the second unit just advanced so that they could take Fury points off of the Gladiator.
So Fate Walker move for Xerxes now. So advances just a little bit up base to base. I'm surprised we didn't see Defender's Ward go on those Citrati. It certainly would be a typical opening gambit there, opening move, expecting those Citrati, or even on the Incendiari potentially, depending on their initial position.
Or even on Tiberian, since it looks like he's going to be taking the Vanguard.
Be weathering the storm. And a Defender's Ward at Tiberian is no joke.
No. Defender's Ward also, as well as the armor, which is like the real key here, the defense bonus is in a nice spot for making those Redeemers have a much more difficult time hitting what they're trying to aim at.
Less important for those errants, however, since their crossbows are blessed.
True.
But yes, the Jacks certainly a factor. So we see a lot of folks getting doled out by the Harbinger and Tristan to the Jacks, so we're going to see a lot of rockets coming towards the Scorn this turn. So we have 2 on the Reckoner, 3 on the Redeemer, another 3 on the Redeemer. Tristan put 2, it looks like, on his Redeemer, as well as 2 on the Judicator.
So I think that the way Mike is approaching the Fortify situation is to not use that particular focus until it's absolutely necessary.
So we see the Zealots activating and just advancing.
I did not hear any particular... Or no, Iona and Holt.
Iona and Holt. Even advancing. See Iona taking one last inch.
So Holt is going to fire his hand cannons.
First, it sounds like Iona's trying to harm. But she missed on her harm. Holt does hit. And then misses on the second shot. So he did a little bit of damage to the one Incendiari despite the miss on harm from Iona and a miss on his pistol.
Probably a lot less than he was hoping for. Got one of the Redeemers now activating.
Tristan's Redeemer, I believe.
Choir did advance there. If you saw a couple of small moves kind of behind that Judicator, the Choir advanced and used the Hymn of Battle. The Redeemer now taking its shot. Judge verifying that he can see that particular model. Here with the overhead cam, it makes it easier to see those particular things.
Needed a 7 and he missed.
Deviates way off downfield. Second one does hit.
Yeah.
Boosts damage as well as the hit roll. And that is enough to finish off that Incendiary.
And so first blood goes to the
second choir. Second choir now also sings the Hymn of Battle, giving these guys +2 on their attack and damage rolls as well. Now all the Jacks in the army are benefiting from that hymn. The Redeemer does not hit its intended target. Deviates
it's a pretty good
possibly
deviation
into the Paingivers, which would be
hit
what Mike's looking for when it comes to blast damage.
Those beast handlers early. So I see him measuring it out.
Yeah, that's right on their heads. One
First
down.
one dead.
And second one down because of the hymn.
Yep.
Or, wait. No, just... Is he dead or not dead?
Second shot connects with a 10 on the attack roll. And Tiberian shield guards it. Third shot bot miss and goes 6 inches straight back.
Wow. Possibly.
Oh, no. Looks like it went to the 6-4, excuse me. So right into that big cluster of troops. So it gets 3 cataphracts.
But nothing squishy.
Whoa, that's a good roll. So arm. So 5 damage onto one of the cataphracts with that boxcar roll, and nothing on the third one.
The dice give and the dice take away.
See the next Redeemer standing still, aiming and shooting at the incendiary.
And the Citrati over there.
So misses, goes to the 2, 5 inches.
Not going to be too useful. Might clip a... No,
So nothing
not.
on the 3. Second shot misses, goes to the 6, 2 inches. So first guy, nothing on the blast damage. Second guy, so 1 point. So, and then the last blast damage does nothing. So buys 1 more attack.
Now it's a direct hit. Boosts the damage roll and gets a big damage roll no matter what's under the clock.
So manages
Enough
to kill an
to
incendiary.
take off the Citrati.
Oh, Citrati.
Yeah,
So
Citrati ran forward over there. That's also why they're arm 16.
So the Reckoner advancing.
He's got a more accurate attack than the Redeemers that were just firing. He's going to shoot, I think, the Citrati.
Citrati, yeah. So Citrati is set on fire.
So lives through the attack, but not by much.
So 2 left on that one, and he is on fire. It's possible he'll get killed next turn by that fire damage roll. So Vassal enlivens the Reckoner.
Mike is moving fairly quickly here. Doesn't want to wind up in a time crunch situation, I think.
The Errants are just going to advance. Try to take some blessed crossbow shots at those Citrati, it looks like. Whittle down that unit.
You think he's going for that middle unit? Or off on the flank?
No, whittle down the, I think the flank unit,
Yeah,
it looks like.
I agree. Unit advances.
Not by much.
Other than the one guy all the way on Mike's right, he chooses to aim since his target, his desired target, is in sight. Continuing with the advance moves here. Not really going to be able to do much to the unit that they can see, those guys in the middle there.
So the banner bearer moving last here, just advancing up behind the woods. So you see the
Aiming guy easily hits his target. No damage. Same target from the next guy who advanced forward. No damage. Same target from the next guy who moved forward. And 1 point. Leaves him with 1. He's on fire. He's been shot by a bunch of crossbows and a flaming ball of light thing stuff.
So able to see through the forest because of the UA's granted hunter ability.
And shooting the incendiary. And these guys who their easiest target is in shield wall, they're going to shoot
looks like the
off to the side at the last incendiary unit.
So 1 point on that last shot. Targeting the incendiary that was not in cover. So that should wrap up that Exemplar Errants unit activation. Still have Harbinger left, still have the Judicator. Looks like the Judicator is going to get picked next. So Judicator's just going to
advances. It's not a particularly fast model, but we'll be able to take a lot of shots. It has a lot of damage output in terms of volume of fire. It's going to take its first shot over at the incendiary there, the one that's kind of peeking out from the woods.
So first shot misses even though it's boosted. So straight back 4 inches.
So the initial blast and the secondary blast both fall into that area in between the armies there.
And the second shot misses as well, even though it was boosted. So it's going to go, just figuring out where the damage goes. So they bounce back.
Once again, lands in the open area.
So now we're figuring out how to move the scatter back. So 6 to the 3. So 6 inches to the 3. And then 4 to the 4. So definitely is going to hit that errant. And that would kill the errant, so Martyrdom from the Harbinger deals her 2 damage.
Martyrdom ability is very powerful. And it's interesting the direction that Mike chose here with not having a whole lot of troops, because the few troops that he has, when they take damage, it makes it a bit easier to accept the martyrdom damage, since there's not as many of them constantly feeling that need to use up her life. The Harbinger does use her feat, so that will kind of hinder the score in advance, not quite so much as it would against some armies. Facing that giant horde of Mechanothrall, we'd probably see more of a deterrent than Citrati, since they do have wounds.
So the Gorman and Nicaea also moved up a little bit.
The Harbinger did also heal her martyrdom damage from earlier.
Nicaea running straight down the side of the table. Using that speed to be an excellent flanker.
We have the fire roll.
And that will kill the arrow-peppered and burning Citrati. So Martin now going to be forced to pay a little bit for every advance he makes forward, since the Harbinger's feat is going to definitely be felt here, as you pointed out.
Probably be a pretty strong deterrent for the Incendiary in particular. While they might live through it, there's also a decent chance that they'll die, and even if they do live through it, they'll probably take significant damage on the way in, making it easier for models like the Knights or blast damage from all those Redeemers to finish them off.
So there's a quick confirmation that Xerxes had Mullet Karn within 6 inches. Expecting to see a spell or two laid on Mullet Karn here. So, see Martin considering what he's going to do first here.
He is in a bit of a tough spot with the Harbinger's feet. It's going to really limit what he does this turn.
So we see the Incendiary just kind of walking away from the Harbinger, and then 2 of them standing still and aiming. Trying to shoot a errant. Does hit. Is not enough to kill him. On a 16, so lights the errant on fire. And next, Incendiary, who is aiming, it looks like, is going to take a shot. We're going to see a shot at the next one in line. So hits and also fails to crack arms, so that's 2 errants on fire, but no deaths or martyrdoms. See the last Incendiary try to shoot Holt, and Quick Draw sees that shot knocked out of the air.
I always thought he shot the gun out of their hand. Shooting a fireball out of the air is more impressive, though.
It is. It's a lot more visually exciting. See Martin now looking at the table, trying to decide where to go next. Measuring control area.
Probably attempting to determine if anybody in his army is safe from the Harbinger's feet if he wants to advance forward at all.
So So we see Xerxes activating next. Looks like he might be using his feet as well. So we see Fury on Mullet Karn. I think Mullet Karn's going to go after that, that Judicator.
Could be.
So Fury brings Mullet Karn up to a very impressive hitting potential with Weapon Master. He's now a 16 with both of his falchions.
And
Xerxes does feat.
The Pain Giver Beast Handlers likely to take that up to an 18.
Mm-hmm. So Xerxes does a press forward. So Xerxes advances through the Cetrati. He measures his control. He has 1/2 inch of movement left. But he's not finished moving, but Xerxes will take a damage roll from the Harbinger's feet. Additional die and melee damage rolls from the feet, plus Fury, plus Enrage. So 22, so Xerxes is going to take just 1. He got +2 armor from the feet for being base to base, so he took 2 whole points from the 22, being an impressive arm 13 on his own. Still sitting on 3 Fury, so a lot of Fury when you're expecting to run Mullet Karn full-blooded.
And Mullet Karn will definitely be able to dish out the pain.
See the Incendiary going, the second unit in the middle there, activating. Xerxes measuring his feet. So we see 2 Incendiary aiming.
Avoiding any risk from the Harbinger.
Seeing advance.
Some are advancing.
With the +2 arm from the feet, though. So 6 points. 6 points because of the feet keeps that one alive.
Without the feet, that would be a dead Incendiary.
Mm-hmm. So that Incendiary is now in range to be able to shoot some stuff. See that Incendiary moving forward, staying base to base, taking a damage roll as well. So it takes 3 points this time. So definitely whittling down those health tracks, but
the feet making it a bit more palatable than it would have been otherwise, though.
So we see some shots now being taken. So first the aiming one on the guy, on the errant that's on fire by the flag. It misses. So it's going to deviate. Goes 4 inches to the 3, which will hit nothing. Next one aiming, shooting at that errant in the front. Does hit. Does crack arm, and a martyrdom happens, dealing 1 damage to the Harbinger. So because the Harbinger spent 2 focus last turn to go back to full, she's only on 1 damage currently.
3 more Incendiary still
another shot
potentially to fire.
Cracking that one out. He cannot martyrdom that errant, so that errant is just dead.
So using the self-sacrifice ability to have a different trooper be destroyed, but
Mike just loses it. So that errant is
considering it, sides against that plan of action and lets that trooper fall.
So 1 more Incendiary shot to go here. Decide where to go. Oh, shot across the table a little bit. Does hit. And does break arm. And Harbinger martyrdoms for another 1. So good martyrdom rolls for Mike. Errants are on fire, but most of them still fine. So that concludes that Incendiary unit's activation. So on to the next one. So the Titan Gladiator moves forward, moving base to base and looking directly forward, and rushes Mullet Karn.
He's definitely within that.
Definitely within the 6 inches. Checking the feet. Will take a POW 14, which is nothing.
Nothing for the Gladiator.
So we now have a rushed Mullet Karn. Not enraged yet, but will be with Fury.
And the feet.
And the feet. It's a model that can deal with just about anything at this point.
Yep.
He's
got the maneuverability. He's got the damage output.
Yep. A lot of resources being poured into this, though. So it's critical that Martin works this out. So they're talking about checking the final placement to figure out. So getting some clarification on the Harbinger's feet to make sure that his Beast Handler doesn't fry from the feet itself. Checking his melee range to make sure that he's within 3. He wants to end up there so he can enrage Mullet Karn. And definitely out of the feet.
Not cause him to suffer a POW 14, since he was trying not to move any closer, and I think he succeeded, but also he's not even in the feet range, so it's moot at that point.
Using that knowledge. So we see Fury being removed from one of the Beast Handlers, and the other one enraging.
So a condition and an enrage, and a sit around because there's a big glowy fire god thing over there.
There's a very bright thing. Measurement of control area again. So. So we see the Satrati issuing a shield wall order. And they were press forwarded by Xerxes. So they've got a healthy speed right now.
And they can advance 7 and still shield wall.
And making sure to keep them in base to base as they go. So no shield wall benefit on that first one, just the feet benefit. But that's enough to stop the damage from the Harbinger. So now,
this will
because of that placement, he's going to be able to get the shield wall plus the feet and pretty much be immune to that POW 14 except on amazing rolls.
It's also just entertaining to move your back guys first.
2 points because there's a 10.
Yep.
Yeah. And he's just going to kind of daisy chain up so that he's going to be able to hopefully get some melee attack rolls on those errants and force either more martyrdoms from the Harbinger or get those guys out of the way. So we see the press forward unit going up. Trying to base, needs a proxy. It's there. 23, 1 point. Mike's doing really well on those feet damage rolls.
Yep, sneaking in a point here and there.
2 points in the first one from a 10, 1 point from a 9. Checking his melee range. He's just out on that errant. So, but he's still got a lot of Satrati to go. See him going 7, doing the same thing. Daisy chaining up. Takes no damage on that one. He will definitely be in melee range. Next Satratis. This one's certainly going to be in melee range as well. But he doesn't want to cut off Mullet Karn's charge lane, so smart move there.
That scared me for a second. He's
That's the last thing you want to see.
Poured so much into this Mullet Karn activation.
No damage
to block it off now would just be unfortunate.
Another move forward, no damage. Really smart play here in terms of countering the Harbinger's feat between using the abilities at his disposal here. using the feet to allow him to get that shield wall set up, and then having the feet plus shield wall to really just neuter much of what the Harbinger would be doing. Any other army would really struggle with this at this point.
As always, though, there is a cost. Xerxes has used his own feet for fairly limited offense, mostly for defense. A lot like what we were talking about with Scar. If you can force your opponent to use a offense and defense feat for mostly just defense, can give you a real edge in the attrition war.
So Harbinger's now taken 5 total this turn for Martyrdom. Mike continuing to roll really low on those Martyrdom rolls, taking only a point just about every time. Measurement of Xerxes' control area. Now, I would say that if Mullet gets to that Judicator and manages to either severely cripple it or wreck it completely, it's a good use of Xerxes' feet. But
sure. I mean, that is the offensive side of it is going all on Mullet Karn. I mean, usually you can get a bunch of models to really benefit.
Yeah.
Same thing with Scar. Like, he got the Kraken to benefit from it.
He got the Kraken to benefit
immensely.
hugely from that.
Yeah. But in general, you want your whole army to really feel the power of these offense and defense feats.
See the Incendiary going next. Checking his control area again to that one burning. So we see 2 of them aiming, 1 advancing. Remember, Martin can see through his opposing models, or through his friendly models. So no damage there from that from the Harbinger's feet. Because of martial discipline, he's able to ignore his own bases. So we see that Incendiary just kind of staying back because he can't fit to where he wants to be. So we have an aim, shooting on that Errant. Does hit. And doesn't break armor. That's the 4th one.
But he catches on fire. Oh.
Fire like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
If only it's stacked. So 2 more damage on the Harbinger from Martyrdom. Another shot misses. Ooh, that Aaron is leading a charmed life. So it still catches him. He needs a 10 to kill him. 11 to kill. Not enough.
And
so
by kill, we mean have Mike roll another 1 for Martyrdom.
Right. So that Aaron's still standing strong, set on fire a lot, but defiant. So we see the Tyrant Commander going next, advancing away from Harbinger, going into base-to-base with the Standard, and press forwarding the Satrati.
This is the non-character Satrati unit now, since Vorkesh's unit has already activated.
Oh, the Arquarii were press forwarded, actually.
Oh, okay.
He's trying to get that errant out of the way.
That does seem important.
So needing to pull off a drag here, which thankfully, regardless of whether the Harbinger martyrdoms or not, provided he can hit, it's going to pull him out of position. So no damage there.
The martyrdom ability is really important from the standpoint of I'm going to keep this guy around and then I can attack with him later. I can still use him next turn. But it's just as important, if not more so, for I'm going to keep this guy that you really need out of the way in your way, no matter what.
So because the Errant was engaged, he does miss on the Arquarii shot. And misses on the reroll against his own target. So here we go. So Moloch is charging the objective. So we'll take a free strike from the Errant. That's what he was trying to avoid. He's
So
got
because it
11
is
inches.
the second player's second turn, it is legal to attack the objective at this point.
So, see a measurement. Charges the objective. Takes damage from the feet. 3 points of damage to Moloch from the feet to the 5. Hits the objective automatically. It's 5 dice on it thanks to feet. He's 18.
And a lot
so
of dice.
18 damage to the objective.
Obliterates it in one shot.
Now gets to sidestep. Checking his control area to make sure he stays.
They're just kind of scooting over to get to the adjudicator.
Does take another point of damage from the feet. 4 to the 1. Really needs this to pay off now.
Well, he's got 5 more attacks.
Hits on the adjudicators. Dice -1. 14 damage. Oh, Moloch Karn. Super beat stick. Hits again. Martin apologizing for that dice roll as it does 16 points to the adjudicator.
I think that might be the side. No. Yeah, that's practically the side, if not fully the
so
side.
in 2 hits, Karn obliterates half of adjudicator.
Yeah.
Third attack does 18 points to the 5.
So
Dice rolling well here.
does the last couple points on the left side, spills over to the right.
Let's see Mike. So the rest goes to the 2 on the other side. Buys another attack. Hits no problem.
Mike should martyrdom some of these.
Yeah, if only.
Adjudicator is not a warrior model, so he
And
can't
the
actually
adjudicator
do
is
that.
dead before Moloch Karn even uses all of his fury.
Yeah, with 1 attack to spare.
Incredible. And as Tim just pointed out, that's Moloch Karn, kids.
Well, let's be clear. It's very easy to blame Moloch Karn
there was
since he's the one who made the attacks.
There was some incredible dice rolling there for sure.
But
a lot of
there
high
was also
rolling.
dice rolling. But that's not even where I was going with it. You've also got a feat.
Yep.
You've also got a spell.
Yep.
You've also got an animus.
Yep.
You've also got a whole bunch of people who tried to set up the positioning ahead of time and did so successfully. There's not just one model that pulls something off. It's the whole army working as one. And to synergistically be able to pull that kind of thing together, it
See Moloch Karn
takes
just,
a mastery of the army in front of you.
Moloch Karn's turned over. We see Tiberian advancing forward and taking 22, which is nothing because he's base to base with a friendly faction model. So
Currently
it
at
would have been
23
1.
armor.
See the Cataphract, Cetrati on that side going shield wall. Base to base because of the objective, which counts as a friendly model. See some damages happening. 1 point. So breaks nothing because of shield wall and the feet. +2 arm defense bonus. So the defense bonus or the arm bonus from Xerxes' feet really paying off. I mean, the offensive bonus obviously paid off as well, giving Moloch Karn an insane amount of damage potential. So we see 1 point happening on a Cetrati. Another one, nothing on the Cetrati. So we've got a couple of Cetrati that aren't in shield wall, or one that wasn't in shield wall when it advanced, and then another one who moved into shield wall when it advanced.
But Martin has
got the beast handlers.
Really successfully weathered the Harbinger's feet here.
And he's even gained ground as well. So
there are not a whole lot of armies out there that could gain ground like this during the Harbinger's feet turn.
No. The Harbinger's feet is usually a stand in place and try to deal with it next turn, but we've seen some impressive advances, honestly, from the Cetrati in the center, moving their full distance forward and not really suffering too much for it. So 2 Beast Handlers die from the feet because they advanced a little too far forward. So that hurts, but thankfully he's got a min unit. He's got 2 units with him. Fire goes out on the Errant, who is invincible, and fire goes out on the other Errants. So those Errants leading a really charmed life right now. So Martin has 40 minutes left on his clock, while Mike has 51 minutes left. So still plenty of time in this game. Mike considering where to allocate his focus next.
Mike feeling a little bit uncertain how to proceed against this wall of massive score and armor.
He's talking about arm 23 on most things right now that are Cetradian in his face.
We also now have a control point race going on. We got 1 control point for Martin, and for now, none for Mike.
We see Mike asking for who has what damage on him, trying to figure out who he can eliminate. So Mike trying to figure out if he can actually do some damage with his guns, with his ranged options for his jacks, or if he needs to allocate that focus differently. So considering his allocations here with the Harbinger's focus,
does look like
see that the Reckoner is getting at least 1.
Does look like the flag nearer the camera is contested by at least 1 Cetradi and also Tiberian, possibly a couple more Cetradi. So that'd be a pretty tough place to score. So it's harder to tell on the far flag. But Harbinger keeps 6 of her Fury focus points, giving out 2 to a Redeemer, 1 to a Redeemer, and 1 to a Reckoner. And Tristan gives out 3 to his Redeemer?
Looks like he gave all 3. Yep, he's only holding on 1. And at this point, why wouldn't you? I mean, Tristan's not going to be able to utilize that focus effectively this turn anyway.
I just realized a terrifying thing.
Oh?
Even with Fortify, Adjudicator was still toast.
Still toast?
Yeah. I mean, granted, the rolls were a bit high. If he rolled dead average, maybe it wouldn't have been. But with the extra attack still to go, and with how much...
With so many dice.
So many dice that he's rolling, even Fortified, don't believe would have saved it.
Well, like you said, I mean, you were looking at most of an army pushing its way to making Mullet Karn that engine of destruction. So from a point-to-point count, you're probably looking at very similar costing methods there. But Mullet Karn, certainly nobody can deny, is a terrifying entity on the tabletop, especially when utilized with a good player. There's so much maneuverability, so much damage potential, sidestep plus Fate Walker. He's just all over the place.
With the current board position, there's not even really a guarantee that Mullet Karn is dead.
No.
There's a good chance. Like, the Zealots might be able to soften him up, and the Redeemer might be able to finish him with the Hymn of Battle, but at the moment, we've got another Redeemer activating.
So we saw the Reckoner take a shot and deal a decent amount of damage to 1 Cetradi. Now the Redeemer trying to finish the job.
Boosting the damage.
Whoa. That damage will do it. Blast damage doesn't do anything, though. But yeah, way more than he needed on that 17 damage roll. Next Redeemer taking its shots.
He's going to shoot at
an Incendiary in the trees. So needs a 9 on these dice. Does get it.
Boosting the damage roll here. Martin was checking to see if he could shield guard the hit, but he cannot. It's a little too far. So he does a decent chunk of damage, but does not quite kill the first Incendiary. Blast damage doesn't do anything to the second.
Only because of the feet, though.
That +2 arm showing its usefulness yet again. Puts in Wyvern on the Reckoner.
Trying to keep it safe from Tiberian's charge, potentially. So 18 on that Cetradi, who lost his shield wall buddy.
The Exemplar Errants activate next. The players are noting that 2 of them are engaged by Malik Karn. The others are able to do whatever they want. They're advancing.
Well, many of them already engaged by this Citrati, so they don't really have a recourse beyond that. Their Weapon Master attacks are nice, but at Power Plus Strength 9 against Arm 23.
Yeah, I thought he might go with the charge order, though. Even though not all of them can charge, some of them could.
See a Martyrdom from the Free Strike for Mullet Karn, which
Harbinger now down to just 7 life as the Errants continue their activation.
And he's going to Martyrdom again from a Free Strike.
He's
so really
making certain to disengage. Ooh, another 3 on
down
Martyrdom.
To 4 on Harbinger now.
But making sure to disengage from Mullet Karn so that he'll be able to attack him with ranged attacks accurately.
See a bunch
Makes
of
his attacks with the Errants.
All of them pretty much missed except for 1. So even with that good roll, if 11 it doesn't manage to do any damage.
Yeah, we're only talking about a Power Plus Strength 9 here. So even with Weapon Master, it's tough to deal with Shield Walled Citrati.
So now we're on crossbow shots at that Citrati, who's base to base with the objective. And a shield guard to keep that Citrati alive on the last shot to Tiberian.
POW 10 against an Arm 23 is
Mike,
less than ideal.
Mike didn't even bother rolling. He admitted it. I think we're going to see Gorman try to black oil Mullet Karn here.
That would be useful for the...
So having to burn a lot of movement, though, through that rough terrain that's everywhere.
Interesting to see that just as a host of models helped boost up Malik Karn, now a host of models are trying to work together to take down Malik Karn.
Directly hits, so Malik Karn is now blind. Malik Karn forces a reroll and it misses.
Oh, doesn't wind up mattering, but still a very interesting use of that ability. One that I think a lot of people forget. It's easy to focus on the offensive capability of Malik Karn, but he also has defensive capability.
Having intuition and future sight, like the best of both worlds when you're a Cyclops. Right. But because Gorman only was able to get within 6 inches, his maximum distance, it is possible
could have deviated
that it could have deviated off. So we see some bombs being thrown at Mullet Karn right now.
I think this is Iona and Holt.
Oh, Iona and Holt being shooting at him.
Holt pumped a couple rounds into him after Iona harmed him. So now he's blind, harmed, has some black oil on him, some gunshots in him. The choir activates. These zealots activate. They're going to use the Prayer of Fervor, so that they'll have +2 on their attack and damage rolls, much like the choir frequently gives the jacks.
I expect we'll be seeing their once per game ability as well.
Potentially. They're not really in a good screening position at the moment, but here we have some shots at Mullet Karn with harm and the prayer. This is only 2 off on the damage rolls against a heavy war beast.
Oof. Second zealot.
So Mullet Karn's now on fire and black oiled
Much
and
better
harm
roll.
And full bullets and just covered in flaming holy zealot bombs.
Just needs to be knocked down, and then it'd be the total package.
What about stationary?
Oh, and doesn't kill him with 4 boxes left. Oh, that was the hit roll, so it does hit.
And I think that does it.
So
and
does
no
manage
more
to
Mullet
eliminate him. And he does take the Fury. But Mullet Karn is out. Still, though,
Mullet Karn has the Redeemer. Tristan's Redeemer was not needed to take down Mullet Karn, so He potentially, at least, could fire into that group of Incendiary. Don't think there'd be too much of a point in going after this Satrati at the moment.
See the Choir.
Choir does give the Hymn of Battle to the Redeemer, who then chooses to activate and aims.
So the Aeon and Holt ability is actually Kiss of Lilith, but it's identical to Harm, which is on a couple of other models, giving the bonus to attack and damage rolls, or just damage rolls, excuse me. So we see Mike determining what to do with his Redeemer here.
Decides that the Redeemer is not going to aim this turn, but instead shifts a bit.
And Martin confirming that the Zealots did not trigger Greater Destiny, which they did not.
Boosts the attack roll with the Redeemer. Since it had to move, it's not overly accurate.
They're trying to shoot the middle Satrati.
Boosts the damage roll. Or, yeah.
Decent roll.
Solid roll, but not going to do...
And that will kill him.
That was the wounded Satrati.
Was damaged, yeah.
Yep. Another shot goes out into the...
I actually think that was an Arcuerai, not a Satrati.
Okay.
So lacking the shield wall bonus and such.
That makes sense.
So 2 boxes left on the Arcuerai behind him after the blast or the second shot.
Bit difficult to tell a Arcus from a spear on the camera, but...
See Tristan running forward. Took 2 to get there, 2.5. So he's 3 3/4 into the rough terrain.
Going right into the middle of the wreck.
Tristan still has 1 focus left, so his arm is up by 1.
But not that high. We have... Who ran into the woods? 3 Claimer. Claimer solo.
Yep. And I'm wondering, did he activate Nicaea?
Not yet. Nicaea still has her turn. She's...
So trying to... So we're potentially going to see... So...
Mike asking about the current status of that Cataphract Satrati there.
So we see a charge from...
Nicaea is going to charge. She does have great threat range, but she comes up short.
Oof.
She does have speed 7 and reach, but
Harbinger
not
heals
quite
for
enough.
6. So she's now on 7 damage.
So she has 10 damage boxes remaining.
And Mike says she's going to feed again.
I'm not sure Martin would mind as long as he can feed again also.
True. So Mike has 38. Martin has 40 minutes left on the clock, so still a lot of time left. Now Martin's been freed up, though, to really press his advantage. And losing Mullet Karn, well, a significant blow. Taking out that Judicator, and with the amount of just damage output that this Cataphract army has.
Well, and the other losses this turn were fairly limited. I mean, he lost a couple of Cataphracts in addition to Mullet Karn, but really not a major loss yet.
So trying to get line of sight on that middle model to make best use of his Incendiary AoE attacks. I wouldn't be surprised to see Martin try to control that flag this turn.
Agreed.
Put himself up by 2.
That is the one reason that I thought we might see Greater Destiny, too. Personally, I like to use Greater Destiny when I can have all my Zealots in the way.
So
but sometimes you need it
he's definitely taken that because he just shot the closest zealot, which was in contestation range. Second attack, shot and hits, connecting all 3 of them. So they're armed 16 now because one model was destroyed. Does destroy his initial target. And blast damage against armor 16 needs 9s to kill. No, but set on fire. Second guy, not enough, but set on fire. So 2 fire tokens. And so Martin doing a quick measure for contestation of the flag. So no contest from that errant over there.
So as long as he moves somebody in his army in a way that
I think he's going to go for a domination here. He just
could be.
Oh, so we're pausing the clock here because the flag potentially got moved accidentally during play. So you see our group of 3 judges watching this final table now carefully measuring out the precise position of that flag because it's going to matter, especially if Martin decides to go for the domination with Xerxes on that flag.
I wonder if they're going to check the other flag now too, because I know that one got bumped in the skirmish between some errants and Satrati.
So you see them being very careful to line that measurement up, using all 3 of them. Judges AK, Chili, and Tim. Set up perfectly. So sets it down to pin. So clearly within 4, so that errant will need to be dealt with.
Oh.
And then it moves again.
And then it got bumped again.
So doing it one more time.
Apparently, somebody thinks our judges need practice measuring flag position.
I mean, the reason we have a team of judges here is specifically for this reason. You want to make sure everything is as fair and correct as possible. So Xerxes checking to make sure he's within 7 so that you can press forward and advance. But so you see some very serious measurements going on because this would be really important.
Could be the outcome of the game.
So right. Just out of 7, so no domination attempt can be made this time.
Well, unless he runs.
Unless he runs.
It limits his options somewhat if he runs, but it's not necessarily a problem.
So checking to see if something can be charged.
If the flag can be charged.
Cannot be charged.
Yeah. But it cannot.
Judges talking a little bit about the flags. Now they have to go check the flag rules really quick just to make sure. I want to make sure that they're giving accurate information here. So another pause as things get checked out. See the players looking over this. So as they check these rules here, just giving thoughts on the game so far, we've got pretty interesting matchup so far. We saw both feats used in the round 2. One to try to slow down the advance, as you typically see the Harbinger do, but then one in response and really neutering what the Harbinger wants to do with that feat.
Yeah, it wound up being a very strong counter to the Harbinger's feat.
Right.
And you don't have a lot of those.
No.
Between the army construction and the feat timing, it limited what happened there a lot.
Right.
We had some damage to some cataphracts, and we did see 3 Paingiver Beast Handlers taken out. So that's significant, but it's not
not
game-breaking.
Not considering the losses in the board position that Martin wound up with in the end. So
we saw almost all of an army's resources go pouring into Mullet Karn
Right.
to take down the Judicator, and then pretty hefty chunk of resources come flying right back at him with all those different effects. Blind, Kiss of Lilith, the prayer of a battle on the Zealots, and
but as we
took down
discussed,
Mullet Karn.
losing Mullet Karn is far less of an impact to Martin's overall army and its ability than losing the Judicator was to Mike's army.
Right. They both still have one heavy hitter in Tiberian versus the Reckoner.
Nope.
But
looks like our judges have determined that you cannot target the flag, so you can't charge it. The errant is also within contestation of the flag. So if Martin wants to be able to dominate with Xerxes, he's going to have to run. See Martin taking a look at the board now, trying to decide what to do next with that knowledge. Have been figured out. He's going to have to remove the errant, which is going to be difficult between self-sacrifice and martyrdom. So looking at Nicaea, trying to figure out. So we see Tiberian advancing forward. Likely getting one errant within reach. So proxy basing Tiberian so that he doesn't fall.
there we see the chosen position here. Yep.
So we see him getting two people into melee, one with the shield, one with the Tetsubo. Does put him
shield
within
him in the face. Puts him in what?
does put him within danger range of that Reckoner, though.
Yeah.
So he misses on the shield, boosts on the Tetsubo. Interesting choice to boost there. So now Mike has to decide if he's going to self-sacrifice. With Tiberian's mat. So Mike lets it go, takes the soul for the Reclaimer. Now the question is, does Martin continue to attack on that one errant that's left?
Well, he does not have a whole lot of fury out on the... well, it depends on what he's planning to do fury-wise for Xerxes, too.
Mm-hmm. If Xerxes rushes himself, he'll get the +2 inches of movement there, and then he can press forward himself. That would give him the 9 he needs to get to the... oh, excuse me, it rushes only on a War Beast, so never mind. So, see an attack roll. Misses again. His errant's just proving to be extremely difficult to
These particular
remove.
errants have blessed armor instead
They
of blessed
do.
crossbows.
Clearly. In real pain. Martin, I think, potentially deciding he's not going to continue to make attacks. He's really considering his options here, though. So, looking at the board positioning, really looking at that flag. Yeah.
Going up to 3 control points would certainly be put a lot of pressure on Mike.
So we see that Cataphract unit, which is the other Incendiary unit, activating and advancing forward. We're going to see a melee attack into the Errant. Does finally do enough damage. Martyrdom's
3
for 3.
points. Martyrdom's back down to 7 remaining damage boxes. Did I say martyrdom is?
Yes.
The Harbinger.
The Harbinger.
Is back
Martyrdom,
down
her name.
to
Her name be
7
Martyrdom.
damage boxes due to martyrdom.
See a shot hitting the Errant. So no boxes on the Errant leader, because that is not the officer. So he lets him die and field promotes to that one, since that was a leader model.
Gets another soul
Does
for
get another
the
soul.
Reclaimer solo.
See See the last shot here. So misses Gorman. Clips 2 errants. Gorman being immune to fire doesn't have to worry about it. So both get set on fire, but neither die from the blast damage. Martin now considering where to go next. Still has the cataphracts to go in the center, as well as the cataphracts on the side. Has the gladiator as well. Xerxes activating next. See what his plan is here.
Well, he is not running to
Wow.
the flag.
Moves forward.
He's taking a bold position in the center of the table, though.
Defender's ward goes on Tiberian.
It makes it a lot more likely that Tiberian will survive an attack from the Reckoner.
Yep. So we see self-sacrifice happen to the new leader. New leader gets promoted. Officer's still in, though, so we see
Harbinger getting low enough on health that Mike isn't as quick to use the martyrdom ability.
So we see martyrdom for 3.
She's been down to 4 life before.
Mike telling him to keep buying on Xerxes because he has 3 Fury left. Had 2 initial attacks, so hasn't bought anything yet. Only has cast Defender's Ward on Tiberian. He's in a impressive spot in the center of the table, though.
Forgotten a bit about the Titan Gladiator
Mm-hmm.
due to him being proxy-based for so long there.
Well, and he's been in the back of the pack the whole time. I mean,
Yeah.
all he's really done is put out Rush. So we see the Tyrant Commander going, giving Overcome to the Cetrati, and then decides to charge Nicaea. Unfortunately, the Tyrant Commander is just out.
It seems to be what people do over there. And that
Just
little
be
piece
out,
of
yeah.
the board is they charge and just barely miss.
So we see the Cataphracts now running or charging with Pathfinder, and because of martial discipline, being able to zip around as they want to through their own models.
And what are these? Are these the Arcoary?
These are the Cetrati on that side.
These are the other Cetrati.
Yes. Or they're the no, they are the Incendiari. Excuse me. So, deciding to forego shooting firebombs to chop things with axes. So does officially kill the Errant, and it's gonna try to sack, and he can't. So he martyrdoms for 2 more.
Wow.
Harbinger has 2 boxes left. So I've seen attack and misses.
I would not recommend martyring anymore. I mean, you could, and you could live.
You could risk it.
But it is not something you want to do.
Tim kind of laughing with Mike as to his bold martyrdom plans here. So we've got press forward Cetrati in the center that can move 7, whereas the Incendiari were overcome to give them Pathfinder to be able to go through the woods. Now we just see them kind of repositioning so that they can, moving through their own models, avoiding free strikes from the Errants. And they are shield walling, so they will be arm impressive again, but not as impressive as under the feet. Just 20 this time.
Just regular impressive.
Not 22. See them zipping back just a little bit. And Vorkesh is going to come in with his cleave attack, trying to be able to take out both of the errants that are left, knowing Mike really can't afford to martyrdom anymore. So now we're going to see some attacks. So we see a combined attack on the officer. Does hit.
Effective power plus strength 13 due to the combined.
So Gorman, oh, that was against Gorman, hiding behind the tree. So Gorman is no more. So we see Vorkesh combining with another one to attack into the errant. And does hit. Needing to do this because of the Harbinger's Awe ability. So Mike trying to figure out what has activate. So trying to figure out what's left to activate. So he does let that one go and die. Vorkesh cleaves, combining into the other errant that he wants removed. Does hit.
Now that's an
does
interesting choice there.
So eliminates the other errant finally. Mike being unable to sacrifice or...
now, one thing Mike could have done in that situation is you self-sacrifice one knight for the other, and then cleave would not have been triggered. Cleave only triggers when Vorkesh destroys an enemy model, not when self-sacrifice destroys an enemy model. So that would have been an extra little thing that he could have done with the knights. And I'm surprised he didn't do.
The Arquerai now are running, getting into a control zone of that flag. So some measurements here to trying to figure out so trying to get within 4 of that flag.
So attempting to control the flag, but not going to be able to get everybody in the unit necessarily close enough. From here it looks good, but that's why we have judges.
Yep.
Okay.
Judge says it's good. Martin just declares that they're facing forward rather than to the side. It looks like that other Arquerai is within 4. It's going to be really close.
Yeah. If the last one couldn't reach where he was trying to go, I think that's what would have caused him to be out.
See the beast handlers running forward. Still have this Cetrati unit over here. The Nicaea bearing down on them.
If they get into shield wall and engager, she's not really built for cracking shield walls of medium units. Oh, can they shield wall? Which guys are in that unit still?
There's 3 of them. They're split across the objective,
okay.
So
the Tyrant and Standard.
So it looks like we're seeing a charge. So charge from the Cetrati, 1 going on to the Reckoner. So we see a run to engage more stuff.
Well, and potentially to block the Reckoner from getting to Tiberian, or not.
Interesting. Well, he's got the 2 Incendiari that are also in front.
Yeah.
So he does hit. -8 on the damage roll. So does no damage. It's a good attempt.
All right. So now 2 control points for Martin.
So fire kills one of the... so one zealot dies to fire. And one zealot fire. So now we're seeing a bunch of fire rolls on the errants. So we see the Reclaimer.
The Reclaimer now has
bunch of souls.
Full complement of souls in terms of how he can use them as focus. He's got the full 3 for now.
So Mike getting some confirmation on what the different cataphracts are. And a couple more errands.
Sometimes I need that clarification too.
So we also saw the errants unit getting really stripped down by that fire because Mike couldn't take the martyrdom. So control point score of 2 for Martin, 0 for Mike so far.
Mike definitely wanting to plan out this turn carefully.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a big opening for him.
The Harbinger has taken a lot of damage so far from martyrdoms, down to just 2 health.
Xerxes is sitting on 3 transfers when he's got impressive survival stats to begin with.
He's also got a fully health Gladiator way in the back that's pretty much untouchable by Mike. So Martin letting Mike know that the Cetrata unit in the center is spell warded from Vorkesh. So doing his best to try to prioritize his targets here. So we see Ion and Holt activates.
Kiss of Lilith is used on that unit. And now Holt is shooting them with his hand cannons.
Ooh. Manages to kill the Incendiary even with some extremely low rolls thanks to Kiss of Lilith. Lewis.
It is worth noting that they did not get within 4 inches of the flag, though, I don't believe.
Nope. Does not look like they advanced that way. Mike's probably counting on using Greater Destiny with...
yeah, Greater Destiny on the Holy Zealots would certainly be useful.
Mike just realizing he made a bit of an error here in not allocating. He moved Ion and Holt too fast, and Tristan is now sitting on 4 focus, and the Harbinger is sitting on all 10. So
the Holy Zealots activate. They do use Greater Destiny as anticipated, and they're heading forward here.
Yeah, making
they
sure
are
to contest.
Advancing, not charging.
So that will really stop the effectiveness of Mike shooting this turn with those Redeemers not having any focus on them. He can mitigate that somewhat with the Reclaimer, though.
And somewhat with Choir.
So trying to get within 4 of that flag.
But not within 2 of the Cataphract.
Looking to throw some serious firebomb action here. So miss on Snake Eyes. So see a Powhite Blast on one of the Incendiary, which just does a single point. See a miss, deviation again, 3-6 inches. So it doesn't hurt anybody based on that.
And this one hits directly.
So low roll.
Not do a whole lot of damage, though.
So 5 damage when you're using Kiss of Lilith with Prayer of Fervor.
Still leaves him in place, in base to base with the flag. Tristan Durant is going to activate.
See a charge
forward. He's got 4 focus.
Yep. So he's got more than enough room because he's got reach with his weapon. So big charge from Tristan. Stepping in there, try to do some damage here. Making his mentor Resnick proud with boxcars onto the hit.
Definite hit.
POW 12. POW does 4 points. Buys another attack. Misses on that one, though.
POW 11 on the melee attack.
Misses again on another attack. And misses again. Last attack does hit.
Does hit.
Dice -8, though. So left with 1. So all the cataphracts have 1 damage on him. Almost.
Slight exaggeration.
Yeah. Tell Mike trying to figure out how he's going to crack through this wall of Scorn armor. Just grinding through.
He's going to activate one of the choirs.
Yep.
Advances a bit and uses the Hymn of Battle.
So
Redeemer aims, fires.
Snake Eyes to miss. So it drops backwards.
It's going to get some guys with blast damage.
So Aaron takes no damage. Whoa,
wow.
There you go. So 4 damage to that leader cataphract. Leaves him with 2. So 17 points to the Incendiari. Leaves him with 1.
So the next Redeemer aims.
Misses again on Snake Eyes.
Fires.
Wow.
The weapon does say right on the card that it's inaccurate.
It does, and they're proving it. So looking for the max deviation distance.
Looks like it can only deviate approximately 3 inches.
So it hits 2 errants. Does kill an errant. Kills another errant. 1 point. So the Redeemer being more effective against Mike's own errants than it is against the cataphracts themselves.
Seems that way.
Mike not being able to sacrifice just loses those 2 errants. So going through the life left, got 2 left, 6 left, and 4 left. So
I thought they all had 1 left.
Yeah. Mike was a little off on that one.
So Nissi is going to charge.
Yep. Right into the back.
She's not short this time.
Hits easily. Sees Weapon Master, 4 dice. More than enough to murder him. So rapid strike into the leader.
The other target she can reach.
Snake Eyes again. Oh. Misses with her rapid strike. She does get a sprint, though.
And she's in the back arc of the guy.
So she can dash back out to safety.
Almost exactly where she just was.
Yep. Was really hoping for that quick work attack, but wasn't able to get it. So Mike looking at the board now. Harbinger on 10 focus. She could.
Asking for clarification on which guys are in which unit. There are a lot of cataphracts over there.
So we see the Redeemer taking a shot.
Tristan's Redeemer aiming.
Goes to the 5 1 inch. This does miss.
And clips a bunch of cataphracts.
So nothing.
Wow.
Does do a point.
So a couple points.
So he takes 1. Takes 2.
Yep. 2 on the Incendiary would have been
because that was
1
not
on a Citrati.
Not one of the Kiss of Lilith one. So all the blast damages have been resolved. So Mike talking about maybe purifying to remove Defender's Ward and attempting to kill Tiberian.
Presumably with the souls from the Reclaimer.
Yep.
Didn't say that part, but you're sure not going to kill a Tiberian with a no-focus jack.
No. No, the Reclaimer able to give that Reckoner 3 focus effectively through its souls. So just as good as the Harbinger allocating. But even still, Tiberian being effectively untouched at this point. At arm 21.
Definitely a tough target to take down.
With only a maximum of 4 attacks at 19s. That's assuming that we don't need a charge to get there.
Which you might. 7 inches?
So the errants receive a charge order.
Maybe.
See the banner run.
So
see a free strike being taken. So it does hit.
That errant suffers damage, but uses self-sacrifice.
The standard who dashed forward just in time.
Bravely dashed forward.
Bravely dashed forward, knowing his death was coming. So we see the officer now engaging that Incendiari who's in front of Tiberian.
Hits.
Does hit. Pound 9. So 18 points. So 3 points does eliminate the Incendiari leader. And another Snake Eyes sees the officer miss his attack. So Tiberian still has a wall of Incendiari in front of him.
Definitely not what Mike was looking for.
4 or 5 Snake Eyes on attack rolls at this point.
This turn.
This turn, exactly. It's tough at this point when you're struggling to figure out how to come back against, an uphill battle like Mike is, and then seeing the dice just go horribly against you. It all leads up to making things a little more frustrating and can cloud your judgment and kind of your thinking skills. And see Mike taking a second to collect himself here. Just breathing out and looking at the table.
Still got the Reckoner to activate. Still got the Harbinger to activate.
Yep.
Still got the Reclaimer to activate. I believe that's it at this point.
Mike just kind of working out the fact that if the Reckoner moves forward, Tiberian's probably just going to wreck him because he's not going to be able to lay enough damage out now at this point. So we see
Mike
the
activates
Reclaimer activate.
the Reclaimer solo, uses Communion to give the souls. Reckoner now has 3 focus.
Well,
I believe the Vassal has also not activated yet. He's very likely to enliven. Okay, he just did
good
enliven.
Call. Yep. Sees the enliven happen.
So the Reckoner now planning to clean up some cataphracts and then enliven away from Tiberian.
Well, first one goes. So dead, buys.
And another big hit from that giant mace ash thing bat.
And that's how
takes out another cataphract.
That's how you clean up cataphract armor right there. See Martin doing some field promotions here. See the choir charging in. First one running, trying to get more bodies into contestation range with that flag.
This choir now being used a bit sacrificially. Just kind of getting in the way of the Scorn army.
At this point, though, Mike needs to try to contest those flags as much as possible. He's down on points. He's down on heavy hitters. If that Reckoner goes down, he's going to have some serious issues against this heavy armor at that point. He's lost most of his errants. Harbinger heals for 10, so she's back down to just 5 damage. 12 left.
Capable of doing a decent chunk more martyrdoming again this next turn.
Mike unimpressed with Tiberian here.
Or very impressed.
Either way.
And just lamenting which side of the board it's on.
See Mike measuring his control area really quick, trying to decide if he's going to move the Harbinger.
Certainly doesn't want to expose the Harbinger to
trying to
incendiary cannons.
Trying to figure out where he needs to go for kill box and everything else. He's considering his options here as he looks at the board. Harbinger not easy to get to in her current position already, but the noose is certainly closing in.
Well, and the control point issue also still something to consider. Those zealots are invincible for now, or immune to most types of damage for now.
Especially given what Martin has on that side of the board. Xerxes really lacking any offensive spells in which to take down those zealots that are contesting. Mike wishing that one of his choir members was dead so that he could have an open path the way he wants to run.
Trying to get the Harbinger to the safest position possible.
Definitely concerned about that assassination run at this point. So trying to get away from Tiberian. So here comes 2. Harbinger kind of repositioning here behind that Judicator wreck. So quick ask that Tiberian's out of 11, which is his effective threat to the Harbinger. So quick check on kill box.
Oh, no.
Mike looks like he just got in the kill box. So pause on the clock to check the kill box.
It's going to be close. Looks really tight.
Looks really tight. It looks like from that angle.
Yeah, she looks just out.
Oh. So a mistake on the measurement there, and 2 control points go right to Martin because of kill box.
With the kill box control points, that puts Martin at 4 control points.
So all he needs to do is take that 1 flag.
And because of the Holy Zealots,
it's got to be the flag. He's checking that flag with Tiberian right now.
The flag near Tiberian, even though it has the Reckoner right there and an Errant right there, that's probably the easier of the 2.
So we see the Tyrant Commander doing a
charge order.
Tyrant Commander. Messia is not within 4 inches, though. So we see the Tyrant Commander charging the Reckoner, trying to burn off that Enliven. So clock, still a lot of time left in this game. Martin has 23 minutes, Mike has 19. But with that kill box, this could easily be the end of the turn.
So Tyrant Commander is going to take a free strike from Nisia.
Oof.
It
She
hits.
no problem.
She has a Weapon Master.
So 25 murders him.
Sword attack
swing
on
and
Nisia. Misses.
Def 16's hard to hit, especially when you're holding a giant flag.
Is that what his problem is?
I think the flag would actually make it easier, like a giant fly swatter.
Ah.
He's like catcher.
But I think the Fly Swatter might be POW less than that.
Well, then you stab her.
Oh.
It's a combination move here.
I think Xerxes, the other version of Xerxes,
Yeah,
does have that.
he does have that, yeah. So Martin considering where to go next. He does have to deal with Enliven on the Reckoner. He also has to definitely take out that Exemplar Errant Officer. But those are really the only two things because Nisia is not in contestation range of the flag, not within 4. So
Yeah. Martin definitely needs a way to burn off that Enliven. Because Tiberian's the guy to smash that Reckoner.
So we see a charge for the Incendiary, who have done very little shooting this game overall. A whole lot of hitting things with their gunblade axes.
At the moment, there's good reasons for that. I suppose they could set the Zealots on fire and hope for the best, but...
So hits and destroys that model. .12 does hit, checking for awe range. Looks like he's within awe range, so he does miss because the -2. So last member of the Errant's unit is the officer, who
And is the one contesting
probably
the
within
flag.
martyr range as well.
Yeah.
Looks like it. So Martin now considering what to do next and trying to clear out that flag and get his point.
As far as I can tell, there's not quite a beast handler in range for Tiberian due to the rough terrain.
Does look like it would be pretty tight to make the 3 inches there. So. See Martin.
Possibly the one, if he just goes straight through the rough terrain, might get within 3.
And the other option for Martin at this point is to not try to win this turn, but to simply set himself up for the win the next turn. Being
Just
4
make
control
some-
points up.
Yeah. Make some attrition gains and
See Tiberian. A boosted headbutt, trying to knock down the Reckoner. Does hit, and then the Reckoner is knocked down. Not in awe, but he would have missed if he was. Oh. So, not in awe range. Knocked down. Tusks are added to the damage. But Enliven no longer an issue.
I always like to see power attacks in Iron Gauntlet games.
Does no damage, though. Here comes 3 points to the 1 from the first Tetsubo attack. One more Tetsubo attack. 5 to the 3. So that Reckoner's still
fully functional.
fairly functional.
Those particular columns, losing the 1 and the 3 don't mean much without the 2.
The Reckoner is knocked down. So we see the last remaining Catafax Satrati advancing into melee with the Errant Officer and misses.
The attack